So I wonder, when I think about people that don't presently know the square principle, how they would have known that certain things were going to happen. By what means would they have known? Like, as an example, take this forecast that we just made today in the center chart here, utilizing the square principle. And admittedly, the market didn't quite do the exact thing that we thought it was going to do. Normally, this advance, the forecast was watch for the market to get up to and fail at or near 45.97 to 98, and then a tradable decline back to 45.74 to 73. So we're talking about from basically, say, 97 down to 74. We're talking about a 23-point reversal based on squares. And indeed, the market rallied up, but because we think it's for this reason that the market's in a very weak overall position, it wasn't quite able to get to, it got basically to 96, 95.75. That's all it could do. Then it reversed and came right down to the 74, 73, which is down here. And they went a little lower, dug in a little bit, and got down to 70 even. And we're right now trading basically at 76. So this bar has gone down to the 73. All of this movement was forecast, as was this. This was forecast to go up to 97, 98. And once having done so, it was forecast to come down to 74, 73, a 23-point swing in reversing off the square. If you come to the March 5th and 6th Saturday and Sunday Square Principle Seminar, I'm going to teach you this and virtually any other trade that we've done that relies on the square principle, so that you can go home and begin understanding and operating with the square principle in advance. If you're a person who is trading with 2-point methodology, where you're just snipping very, very like breadcrumbs out of the market, this is a whole nother world, because you'll be forecasting by your own hand 23, 25, 30-point swings. The only question is will you be willing to trade that swing and stay with it until the square principle has succeeded to complete itself, because that's what it's all about. Now, the square principle I'm showing you right now is operating off of a 15-minute chart. So that swing, that 23, 24-point swing, was just off of a 15-minute chart. Volatility is very good right now, admittedly, but you can only imagine if you were forecasting from a 60-minute or other type of chart. Because the market did not reach the 45.97 level up here, 98, it tells us a lot of information about the internal condition of the market. And that means the market's very weak. It's weaker than normal. So because it's weaker than normal, that also tells us that we will want to be selling rallies on the way down to deeper square principle targets, if that set of condition comes up. Take a look at the chart on the left. Tomorrow's session should test 46.73. At the time, we were up 47.25. This is more than 50 points. Admittedly, the market went a whole bunch further than that. Look at this. But we don't take any credit for that. We don't say things like, well, that's how much, opportunity there was for you there. No, there's no opportunity except the opportunity you recognize as an opportunity. If you recognize that the market was going to move down 50 points, then you're going to exit at the 50-point level and take that gain. So however much further the market moves, it doesn't really matter, because the majority of us are going to be exiting where the square principle says the market's going to go. After the fact, it's easy to believe that you would have held on for something like this, but it isn't easy in real time, and everyone knows that. That's why you have to trade to known targets. You can see the market is weak here, still coming down because of the miss of the square principle target. So I ask myself, when I have a group of gentlemen and ladies here like you, that I'm sure you've worked with markets and you may have even had some insights that have helped you in some way, shape, or form to advance your knowledge of the market. I wonder how you would have known that something like this today was about to happen without having the square principle. Actually, I know of all the indicators and I know that there's no cycle work or bar count or candlestick pattern or trend line or overbought and oversold indicator or divergence or regression or market profile or Bollinger Bands, I don't know of anything that would have told you with certainty, not after the fact, but in advance, that the market was going to reverse off of 97 to 98 and come straight down to 74, 73. The only thing that I know that will give that to you is the incredible square principle, and I'll be teaching it to you on the weekend of March 5th and 6th here in Las Vegas over at the Mirage Hotel. And while I'm speaking here today, if you want to place your $1,000 deposit to come to the Square Principle, you can go to the Square Principle on our website, click Reserve Your Seat Now, choose an option, which is Square's Principle Seminar on 3/5, and click Pay Deposit. That deposit is fully refundable. You can have that back at any time. If something comes up and you can't come or you just change your mind, just give us a call and we will refund that deposit to you on the same day. So keep that in mind. We don't wait a week or 2 months or have some period at the end of the long period of time that we do our refunds. We'll give it right back to you. We are longtime members of the Better Business Bureau. We now have been there, I think, for 12, 13 years. We have an A+ rating, plus we are accredited by them, which is the highest standard you can reach nationwide. That means everybody who does business with us is happy with us. If somebody isn't happy with us, maybe they were expecting something that really wasn't coming to them or something, but 99.999% of the customers that we've done business with are very happy with us, and that includes people that have come to these seminars. So you're interested in trading, you want to know how to get better results out of the market. And I can assure you, better results are definitely possible with a certain knowledge of the very fair distribution of opportunities that the market gives everybody. When I say fair distribution, I really mean the market is strangely fair with the distribution of opportunities that it gives people. The only thing is who is receiving that opportunity and who recognizes it as an opportunity. With the Square Principle, you'll be able to recognize untold numbers of opportunities that the market fairly gives out, where right now you may be waiting to try to pick up 1 or 2 points. And you only learned to try to pick up 1 or 2 points from someone else who didn't know that the market would fail at 97 to 98 today and then come straight down to 45, 74 to 73. But you will be different because you will understand why that happens, and you'll understand when it's about to happen in actual real time with the markets. Just like here, right here, we did, and honestly, we did expect it to go a little bit higher than this. We thought it could at least get to 97, but they failed basically at 96. But this is all the whole world knew a few 15-minute bars ago. That's the whole world knew, only that. But the Square Principle was ahead of that because it says, watch for it to fail here and then come back to 74. And now look what happened. You can assign all the reasons in the world why the market did pull back here. You can say that it was the floor brokers. You can say that it was some news that came out. But the Square Principle identified the need technically for the market to come back to trade at 43, 74 to 73. And it's high time for you to understand that technicality. And if you don't, you may end up being stuck trading with very, very small swings, which, by the way, is a much more difficult way to trade because you have to make untold numbers of trades just to catch up with what the Square Principle is doing. Let's say you did short at 96 and you did exit at 74. 96 minus 74 is 22 points. If you're trading for 2 points, you'll have to trade 11 times in a row, 11 times in a row, and all of them will have to be correct in order for you to be up with somebody who hopefully is you that would be trading the Square Principle indications. Instead of trading 11 times and trying to be correct for 2 points and having all the issues that come with that, You're now just going to be trading once for these types of beautiful swings. And as I told you at the start of this webinar, the market was very weak and it would be moving lower. And you can see the market is starting to move lower now because of that weakness. Now, many of you may already know about PageTrader. We've been in business now for 22 years. We're now the oldest company on the internet doing this type of forecasting work. And we're very happy to still be here doing this for our customer base around the world. Some of our customers are so happy, they really are, that they've done everything that we have to offer. They've owned a subscription of some kind to PageTrader. They started like you might start by taking a trial, by clicking on trial. Then after getting into a subscription, then they leave their testimonials, and we get these testimonials virtually every day. Now, we haven't updated them here today yet. Today is January 13th, but you can see there's thousands of them here, and they come in every single day. Many of these people have come to the Square Principle course, and they are still subscribing to us. That's up to them. You don't have to continue subscribing once you know it, but it is a lot of fun to put the trades together. And honestly, when you've been doing it as long as we have, we're always going to be pretty much ahead of our students on some level, because we're going to pick trades out that they might not have picked, and they're going to say, hey, that's amazing. How did you do that? And of course, we continue to help those people to understand exactly how we use the Square Principle, the same way that we'll teach it to you on March 5th and 6th here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. Now, $6,995 is a lot of money. There's no question that someone would have to think long and hard before spending that money. And the only way a person could really know if what I'm showing you is true would be to take a trial or sign up and have a subscription so they could see for themselves. A trial will give you 5 full days of watching us make these forecasts, and you'll certainly see a lot of them. You'll probably see 15 on average in that period of time. And those 15 forecasts are going to be highly, highly specific forecasts. They're not going to be, we think it's going higher or we think it's going lower. They're going to be, the market's going to run up to this specific number, it's going to stop, and it's going to reverse and go down to this specific number 25 points away or 50 points away or 8 points away. That's what you're going to see 15 times in a row with a trial. At that point, you will be thoroughly convinced one way or the other whether it's time for you to learn the incredible Square Principle. And I know this isn't for everybody. Obviously, if the cost is prohibitive for you to come to the Square Principle seminar on March 5th and 6th, then maybe this just isn't for you. We understand that, at least at this time. Maybe another time you will be able to do it. But I do want to say cost is a very relative term, isn't it? It's not nearly as costly as taking all of your future trades without the knowledge of the incredible Square Principle. And it's also not as expensive as wasting the next 5 years trying to figure it all out for yourself. Believe me, before I was lucky enough to discover the principle way back in 1990 and 91, thousands of books had been written about the markets, thousands of articles. And since then, thousands of websites have gone up, and no one has understood and published anything about the Square Principle. That's because we keep the information very private. We do a background check on people that are coming to the seminar. We're very, very serious about keeping the information private between you and PageTrader. We're not interested in dealing with people who would republish it or in any way rebroadcast this information out or put it into code, into programming, and so on. We want this information. If you come, we want it to come to you and you alone, and for you to be able to utilize this information on your own. One other thing I do want to mention to you, if you've been around markets, you might be saying to yourself, well, I know quite a bit already, so I sure hope that if I come to the seminar that I'm not just going to learn something that I kind of already know. And I do want to assure you that everything that you are taught by me at the seminar is going to be new information to you. You don't presently know what I'm going to teach you. I can assure you of that. That's how different it is. And when you do learn it, you'll be amazed that you didn't see it for yourself at some point in the past, because it was amazing to me that others had not seen it when I first discovered it, but I didn't know that for many, many years because I was very, very young in the markets at that time. So now I'm an old dude. And but at that time, which was 30 some odd years ago, I didn't realize, I thought everybody would know this. I was new to the markets, but after years went by, I realized that I had just stumbled onto something that was quite extraordinary, that allows you to know quite a bit of information about what the market's likely going to do in the future. Now, I do have somebody with me from one of our recent or not so recent seminars. This fellow sitting right here, if you see this picture, this is me over here, and this is him here. This guy's name is Jerry. Back several years, Jerry had come to a square principle seminar, and he had learned the square principle, and he went home and practiced with it, and then demonstrated for us his knowledge of it. It was clear that he had really taken some time with it and really kind of made it his own. And he did such a good job of doing that, that when you come to Page Trader nowadays, like you might today, and say, well, I'm going to select a product here. I'd like to be in the Williams Edge Plus room, and here are these forecasts given out and so on. Well, that is a previous customer of ours who learned the square principle, who is running that room. So somebody who learned it from us, paid for it, and learned it. He got good enough at it. He's actually working with us here at Page Trader to distribute the forecasts that the square principle is giving out, and so much more. And so without any further ado, I'd like to bring Jerry on from our Williams Edge Plus room, and let's hear from him a little bit about maybe anything he'd like to talk about regarding the square principle. So Jerry, thanks so much for being here today. You're on, and we'd love to hear what you've got to say.
Oh, thanks, David. Good to be back here.
Yeah, nice to have you back.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And listen, I appreciate everybody here who's in attendance, and perhaps people listening for more than the first time. Recognize certainly a lot of names here. It's great to see some of these, and obviously it's great to see the square principle at work again today, as it was, David. So obviously, and you just mentioned this beautiful decline here from 95, 96 to come down to not only 74, but we traded it to in the room 71 and 68, and some aggressive final exits. But again, without the understanding of that that knowledge, that principle, without the understanding of that, it's just blind. You're just blind. And as you said, a lot of traders, they may have a resistance level, they may have some desire to have shorted the market. But they have really no way to know that there's going to be that 2022, in this case, almost 30-point decline that they could trade for, and why that price needed to come back and be retested again. And I mean, other than that, they're using fib lines, they're using Elliott wave counts, whatever but they don't know that the market has to make that move. Again, I can't think of anything in the 30, I hate to even say it, 33 years that I've been around the market now. It's almost scary to think about it, David, but 33 some odd years. I've been around a lot, and I've never seen anything that gives me the edge that the square principle does, or the insight and the understanding of why the market is utilizing some of these very important prices, and why they're making the advance to 95. Ideally, it would have gone to 98. But again, with the insight to the principle, we knew and instructed the traders in the room that if we couldn't even test 98, that would even further embolden the idea of that good decline, because of the miss of a price like 98, where it signifies such weakness in the market. So, you mentioned something at the onset, and that is that we don't like to take new traders who have not been around the block and seen a lot and have experienced a lot. And I'm sure, and I know for a fact, that most of the traders here who are listening to us today are very well seasoned. They've been around a long time. Many of them have listened to you for years. And so I know that in most cases, most traders have failed miserably, and perhaps over many, many years, and have never put together consistent success. and not to promise that they'll have consistent success with the square principle. But you also mentioned something about an opportunity, and that's how I view the square principle. It is an opportunity to understand, perhaps in some person's career for the first time, why the market is doing what it's doing and where it's going and why it's going there, and thus giving them the best opportunity to accurately trade that information and to have a true opportunity to change the way that they trade, the way they view the market, and therefore an opportunity to change their future. No pun intended, but to change their future in how they utilize the financial markets and how they trade the financial markets, and an opportunity to turn that failure around and turn that into consistent success. But they're only going to have that opportunity if they come out in March and learn the square principle. Otherwise, just expect more of the same. And in fact, unless you've been consistently successful, or unless you are willing to come and learn the square principle, I hate to be so bold, but if you're not going to come learn the square principle and you've been inconsistent or unsuccessful in the past, then why trade at all? Just stop. Because I'll be honest with you, you don't have a prayer in doing it right until you know the square principle, in my opinion. And I'm going to leave it at that, David.
Sure. No, that's beautiful, Jerry. I appreciate that. And people have said things like that in the past. Once they learn it, they say, I can't imagine anybody going on without this principle and understanding how this principle works. Let me give a live example of that. Look at where the market is now. This is the S&P, and I realize many people here may be in the Dow Jones. They may be looking at the Russell or the NASDAQ and so on. But we're just talking about the S&P right now. This principle is indicating that the market really wants, not today necessarily, but it really does want to get down to the low 4,500s or even into the 4,400s. And that's going to be a important further proof of other things the square principle has shown us along the way. In other words, indications that the square principle has given us tell us that the market really wants to go further down than it already has. And so let's just, and I'm not giving you all the information that we know about those price levels, but I'm giving you those price levels to say that in spite of any rally that occurs prior to the market reaching a price level like, the high 4,400s or very, very low 4,500s, and I won't define it to the T here, but we do have an exact number, that any rally that occurs is going to be short selling territory because the market wants to get down to this level for reasons associated with the square principle. So that's something that you are more than welcome to watch as it occurs so that you can better show yourself that if you're considering coming to the March 5th and March 6th square principle seminar, that you'll really be excited to come because you've seen it. And many people who are already coming have either subscribed or taken trials. Take a look at before when we started the meeting, I told you that the market was in a very weak position, did I not? And that was when the market was right around here, 46, 74, 75 area. And I said, they're going to go lower because the market's in a weak position on the square. And you can see the market's already broken from that price from 75 down to 56 or 45.60. So another 15 points down just by simply understanding that the square principle showed us that the market was very weak because it didn't touch a specific price up here before completing the target of 45.74 to 73. And they've now broken to new lows. And now I'm also telling you that they're going to go even lower. And I told you the number they're going to go to. And we may have a little time between now and when they do that. But I want you to know that just having that knowledge that the market is going to be magnetically attracted to those numbers would be tremendous. Just that alone, to say nothing about the whole use of the principle and how we put it all together and so on. Everything you see on our charts utilizes the square principle in one way or another. And so on the weekend of March 5th and 6th, behind the closed doors of a very private and beautiful conference room, and by the way, they've upgraded their conference rooms. They're much nicer than this now. We'll be over at the Mirage Hotel, and the fortunate traders that have come will be granted a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn the square principle and master distant single price target forecasting. Just like I'm telling you now, another 50, 80 points lower that the market wants to go. In a mere 2 days, the students, like these students from all over the world that are here on this picture, all of these people saw what you've seen in advance with the markets in real time. And they said it's worth coming from Australia, from Germany, from Poland to come and find out how it is this company continuously, never on nonstop, is forecasting distant price targets that the market keeps hitting. I have to know. That's what these people have said. That's why they're there. And that's why you'll be there if you come on the weekend of March 5th and 6th. Nothing's going to be held back. I'm going to teach you everything I know about the square principle. And then when you leave with your your nice square principle notebook, a leather notebook that gives you all of the secrets, just like the charts I'm showing you here, except it shows how the square principle forecasts these moves. You go home, you can contact Page Trader at any time. You have no limitation on that. You can contact me for years if you'd like, and we'll still help you in any way, shape, or form. Most people at this point, when they come to the square principle, they want to make sure they're getting it right before they do anything with it, and we're here to support you with that. There's no limitation. We have ongoing lifetime support for those of you that do come to the Square Principle Seminar. And by the way, there's nothing else that you'll be asked or demanded to buy. There's no bump up from that to anything else. The Square Principle stands on its own. And while we do have other things that we utilize, we actually use 3 different principles in our total understanding of the market. But the one that we use the most by far, and the one that you're hearing Jerry utilize throughout the day, is the incredible Square Principle. Now, again, I hope you'll agree, because we're not going to be here as long as we normally are today with this webinar, but I hope that you do agree that if it's true that you can know these kinds of moves in advance, if it's also true that you don't have to be a genius or have really high-level unique skills to make this work, in other words, to be able to forecast these moves, then what would a good reason be to not come to the Square Principle? And of course, assuming that you can afford the cost to come to the Square Principle seminar. But let's assume that just for a minute. What if all of this is true? And it certainly is. We've been on the internet for 22 years now. There's nobody saying, yeah, these guys never make these calls or anything like that. And you can come watch them for yourself. It's a real deal. In fact, we're on with Ben Lichtenstein from, this is me and this is Ben over here on Ameritrade. And just this last Monday, not yesterday, but the Monday before that, I was on with him. And I made a forecast using the Square Principle. I'd like to show it to you right now, because you can go over and go listen to the forecast that we made on Ben Lichtenstein's. And that forecast had the crude oil market. We said this was on Monday the 10th. So let's go back to, let me get onto a daily chart. This is Monday the 10th right here. There's Monday the 10th. That's the day I'm on with him. Let's make sure that that's correct. Let's check the date. It should be somewhere on the bottom here. January 10th, right here. I'm just putting it in blue. January 10th, 2022. On that day, Ben and I are talking, and this is where the crude oil market is. And on that day, I forecast that the crude oil market's going to go up to $85 to $86. And the crude oil market just made a high of $85.94. I encourage you to go to Ameritrade Network right here, where Ben was asking me what the crude oil market's going to do. And I said they're going to go from $80 up to $85 to $86. That's a big move, $5,000, $6,000 move. Here it is on the 10th that we gave it to him. And here's the market today, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trading days later, up at $85.94. That qualifies as $85 to $86, right? Would you like to know how to do that? You don't have to think much harder, because the only place you're going to go on the planet to learn how to do what I just showed you, and to not have some halfway, it's kind of vague this way or vague that way, but a single distant price target, $85 to $86 when the market's down here, and to be able to know that that's what the market's likely going to do. The only place you can learn that is on March 5th and March 6th here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. And if you're really convinced that you are ready to go, then you go to our website at pagetrader.com, and that's over here. And here, follow me through here. You go to the home page and you go to products, or you would just scroll down. Here's the Square Principle right here. You click on Learn More, and then right here is click to reserve your seat, and it'll scroll you down. You choose your option, which is Square Principle Seminar Training, and you click deposit, you'll pay $1,000, and it's fully refundable. So if something comes up between now and when the seminar occurs, or even on the day of the seminar, if for whatever reason you can't come or decide not to, just call us and we'll refund your full $1,000 to you. A+, accredited, 12, 13 years with Better Business Bureau, millions of dollars worth of orders that we've taken. We'll refund it to you right there on the spot. Now, you'll give us that $1,000 because you'd like us to book your seat. We will book your seat for you. Nobody can take that seat from you unless you relinquish it by getting your $1,000 back. And then we'll look greatly forward to seeing you here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel on March 5th and 6th. I wonder what your plans are for March 5th and 6th. You know, a lot of people have future plans. I do too. I can't think of anything better if you're really serious about understanding markets and you've seen what we're capable of doing with the Square Principle. You'll be there because you'll want to know how it is that somebody can know this kind of sizable move in advance prior to it happening with a single distant price target, not using indicators, not having 7 or 8 Fibonacci levels, which you don't even know if any of them are going to be hit, but an entirely different way to understand what markets are going to do. Now, I'm sure you have questions for me. I'm sure you are wondering something about the possibility of you coming. I'm going to take your questions right now, and I'll answer them for you. Ron is here, and he says, do you timestamp your projections, e.g. ES this afternoon? Everything we do is audio recorded. So that, Ron, if somebody says, well, I don't believe what you said, or I don't believe that you told anybody that the market was going to go from, 90, I'm sorry, what it was, going up to, I forgot the number here, but the swing high, the market should fail at, whoops, let's go to the front page here. Let me go back to it. I've got too many numbers in my head, but we record everything. So all of our forecasts are audio recorded, and all of our meetings are audio recorded where we make the forecast. So let me give you an example. If you're a customer of PageTrader, a subscriber, you're going to go to customer login. And when that comes up, you're going to click the product, like let's say Williams Edge S&P right here, the orange, and that'll get you into the product, but you also can listen to any of the recorded meetings, which go back forever. So this, as an example, is 118. This is today's recorded meeting. You hit play and the meeting starts to play. You won't be able to hear it there because of the way the audio works. But I'm making all of the forecasts for what the market's going to do in advance. And honestly, I think if you are interested in saying, well, is this really true? You're really better off just to hear it live with tomorrow's new market. Why even go back in time at all? You're welcome to. We record everything we do. Every meeting's recorded. Even the Williams Edge Plus room, which goes on for hours and hours and hours, all of it's recorded. All of it's available. But what you really want to see, Ron, is in real time, the market be called to go to a specific number that it's nowhere near right now. That's what you want, to be able to convince yourself that there is something real here. Why not take a trial? It's $7 to take the trial. Let me show you how you can take that trial. Very simple. And you can decide to do that. Let me go over to here. You just simply go to the trial right there, and you're going to click sign up now. It's $7 for 1 week. You'll get 5 full days of watching the Square Principle forecasts at work. If you're not thoroughly blown away by what is possible for you to do, forget that we're doing it. It's possible that you can be doing that. Fair enough. But I haven't met anybody yet that isn't blown away when they really watch what the Square Principle can do. Remember, we're not making any claims for ourselves. We're not saying, oh, we're some great guru that can do this. We're actually making all the claims for the principles. Jerry himself in the room will say, these are the square principles that you're seeing at work. I'm doing the same thing by telling you that I'm just an ordinary person with an extraordinary set of principles to understand what markets are likely going to do. If you're interested in knowing more than you presently know, because while I'm not pulling rank on anybody here, I know that what I know is different than what you know. And I know that if you knew it, you would be able to make forecasts with it that are dramatically different than what you're able to call in the market now. Most people are trading for tiny, tiny amounts of money. And like as a typical example, 2 or 3 points in the S&P and so on. That is because they don't have knowledge that's better than that. They don't know the market's going to fail at or near 96 to 97 or 97 to 98. They don't know it's going to fail at or near that level and then come straight down to 74. They don't know that. If they did know that, they wouldn't trade it for 3 points. Now, would they? So the knowledge is the key thing, and the principle is what contains that knowledge. So I'll be teaching that to you. And remember, the square principle is not a trading system. You may be thinking that you want to learn a trading system. That's fine, but the square principle isn't a trading system. It's actually a deeper understanding of what the market's really all about and what it's doing and how you can take advantage of its nature. That's what you're doing. That's what we're doing here. Everything has a nature. The market has a nature as well. So if you'd like to learn more, we will have another webinar next week, probably on Tuesday of next week. If you'd like to watch the square principle in action, you can go get a $7 trial. If you'd like to see it for 30 days, you can purchase a 30-day subscription of something and watch and see for yourself the capabilities of the square principle. Listen, I don't want to go to a seminar to learn something I already know, or even a little bit already know. If I've been in the markets for a while and I'm going to pay money to come to a seminar, I want to learn something completely new. I don't want to see a bunch of colored lines on charts with, moving averages and yellow lines and blue lines and green lines. If the market gets above this green line, then it pulls back to here, then you do this or do that. That's a trading system. That's vastly different than understanding the nature of the market. And you can see by these results that when you do understand the nature of the market, you're going to be in a very different position with regard to your certainty and your ability to forecast what markets are likely going to do. I'll take a few more questions here if there are any. Thank you, Ron, for your questions. I don't see any other questions here. I hope by that you mean that I've answered everything that you would like to hear. It's really just a matter of knowledge. The market distributes opportunity fairly. If you recognize the opportunity, then you're able to take it. You deserve to take that opportunity. You've earned that opportunity just by understanding it. The square principle allows you to better understand the opportunities that the market's giving you and to be able to be uncannily accurate. When you go to our testimonials page, one thing you'll see an awful lot of are people stating how incredibly accurate the calls and everything are. You can just look through here at any point. Look at here's one right here. Here's Thomas L. He says, this morning I took several S&P points in Jerry's room. David announced that in 3 15-minute price bar, the S&P would be at 4770. And at such and such a time, he took profits on 14 points, not 2 points, 14 points, right? So he says it's like magic. How did he do it? All this happens all the time at Page Trader. You see him saying that there. There's all hundreds and hundreds of that kind of thing in here. People calling it amazing. Sometimes they say we're amazing, but they're really referring to the principle because we're using the principle to put together these amazing trades. Here's another one saying, I've heard a lot of BS in my life, but what you've done in your forecasting skills is another level. It's mind-blowing, and so on and so on. You might be saying the same thing, but I'll tell you this, it's never as impressive to see it or to read about it than it is to be doing the square principle yourself. And that's what we're offering you. I hope you will consider coming to the March 5th and 6th Square Principle Seminar here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. I'll teach you the Square Principle in its entirety. You will be amazed at what you see. I can promise you, you will not be disappointed with what I'm going to teach you. And it is nothing that you presently know, full stop. I guarantee you don't know what I'm going to teach you now. So be ready and be excited to come to the Master Forecaster course, Square Principle, on March 5th and 6th, 2022, here in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel. I'll check for questions one more time. I don't see any. Thank you, Ron, for your question. If you do have further questions, you can call us toll free, 888-231-4702. You can also call us to place your $1,000 fully refundable deposit. That will book your seat, and we'll immediately start producing materials for you. We'll book your seat, and you will own that seat, and you know you can come to Las Vegas. You'll have a wonderful time. It'll be a great time of the year to come out here. The weather will probably be beautiful, and we'll have a wonderful 2 days together at the Mirage Hotel. And it's really only 4 hours per day in the room. One of those hours is actually a full 5-star lunch, which you'll be enjoying with us. You'll want for nothing. We take very good care of you while you're there. But all I need is 3 hours of your undivided attention on day 1 and 3 hours of your undivided attention on day 2. And I will transfer this information and the full use of this principle to you. Again, nothing that you presently know, you've never read, seen, anything about what I'm going to teach you. It's brand new. So I hope you'll be there. Thank you very much for coming today. We so appreciate having you here to listen. And listen, even if you don't come or decide not to come, fair enough. But I would want you to see what's possible by coming to take a trial. Watch what is capable, what you can actually know in advance about what you thought was a completely random series of events in the markets. Thanks so much for coming today. Take care. I hope you all stay well, and we'll see you maybe next time on next Tuesday for our next Square Principle webinar. Thanks so much, everybody. See you then.